All right, good evening, folks. It's not afternoon, evening here in Northern California. Friday night. How's it going out there? Hopefully, everyone's having a wonderful evening. It is November 28th, 2025 here. Close to December, 10:37 in the PM out here along the West Coast. Latest activity here on the Earthquake 3D globe shows a 2.6 out here in the green flag. Somewhere out here, looks like, there we go, around the Indonesia area. Pretty good cluster of earthquake activity here recently. Watching this area specifically where that 2.6 struck here right now for some megaquake movement. Obviously, we've seen a big 9-pointer out there in 2004. That was up there off the coast of Sumatra. But this specific area where that 2-pointer struck, a lot of time has passed since a big megaquake event. So we're always talking about megaquake activity. You know, we had 4 years since a big uptick in 8-pointers. And we may be entering into a period here where we see some elevated activity. Latest activity here in Northern California. There's a 1.9 southern end of the Cascadia subduction zone. Nothing major going on up there. Across the Bay Area, another 3-pointer. That earthquake specifically along the San Andreas Fault. That is right there on the San Andreas Fault. Now, this earthquake is not of any coincidence. This is a part of an ongoing adjustment out here across this area of the plate boundary. We've seen a tremendous amount of swarming going on across this area south of that 3-pointer today, and in the last couple of days around the southern end of the Calaveras Fault system here. I'll show you guys here the earthquake map. Of course, in the last 7 days, look at this. That's a lot of earthquake activity. 34 earthquakes, including a number of 4-pointers and a number of 3s and 2s. That is above average for earthquake activity out here. A lot of folks thinking that this is relieving strain out there. In fact, hold on a second here. So I got to jump on my phone here because I specifically told someone here that I would mention their comment here, okay? Because a lot of people have that misconception here that earthquake activity of this nature is simply putting off the big earthquake out here, right? These 3-pointers, these 4-pointers, oh my gosh, thank goodness that these are happening and that it's relieving the strain out here. Oh man, you couldn't be more wrong. Okay, so I have to read this comment here that was put out on my Earthmaster page on Facebook from Gina. Oh, good old Gina. She stated, consistent small quakes are good because they release pressure. Tell that to Dr. Lucy Jones, all right? That's why I always heard and believed, but no one really knows anything about quakes. When, why, how, big, etc. Just by guessing game by scientists. Best source of awareness, your pets. Okay, all right. A little bit of a vocabulary issue there. Kind of had me stuttering. But I'm going to give you guys a heads up, okay? Dr. Lucy Jones, seismologist, geologist, Harvard University, anyone of any knowledge out here will tell you that these 3 and 4-pointers are a sign of increasing pressure and the likelihood of a bigger quake. These are not a for sure sign of, okay, there we go. We're relieving a little bit of strain out here, okay? I got to show you guys here real quick, okay? I have to pull this up. My good old trusty advisor here, Google. All right, so do you realize this area of the San Andreas Fault can easily produce a 7.0? Okay, let's be a little bit lenient here. How many 3.0 earthquakes would it take to be the equivalent of a 7.0 earthquake? Okay, so I'm asking that upon my Google trusty advisor. So do you realize that it would take 32,000 32,000. Okay, are you listening out there for you naysayers? 32,000 3.0 earthquakes to equal the energy of a single 7.0. Okay, please stop saying that these earthquakes are a good sign for California, okay? Because when earthquakes increase out here in the 3 and 4 range, that's not a good sign. That means that the increasing likelihood of a big earthquake happens, okay? You got your information mixed up here. Please use a little bit of common sense here, okay? Have you seen 32,000 3.0s out here? I don't think so, okay? Please. Get out of here. Get out of here. Come on. So when we're looking at this increase of magnitudes there across the Bay Area, we're talking about 3-pointers, 4-pointers, 4-pointers down here. That increases the likelihood of seeing a larger event out here across the West Coast. I've been saying it all along. But man, people don't listen. They don't listen. They don't understand common sense here. They want to think on their own nature. But I've been studying this since a long time, a very long time. I'm not just a person here on YouTube. I have documentation and education to back this up. I've been doing this for more than a year. I've been doing this longer than Dutch Sense. Okay, longer than Stefan. What's his name? Longer than all of these channels here on this YouTube channel, since 2006. Okay, so what are we looking at? Almost 20 years. Okay, so hello. When I see things, I call them out like I see them. So there's been a number of swarms out here around the Salinas area, which is around the Loma Prieta earthquake area. There was a big old earthquake out here in 1989. That swarm is occurring within that area. A number of 2s and 3s out there in the last 24 hours, but noticeable increase out here across the Calaveras Fault. Nothing on the Hayward Fault, but there's been a couple more earthquakes, as I mentioned, up here around the San Andreas Fault, which is a 3.2. Also off the San Ramon area. You know, it's just, we can look at the last 7 days and say, okay, this has happened, but you have to go back here in the last 30 days to realize the increasing area. Look at this cluster out here, okay? It's about the Bay Area, Concord area southward into it ends into about the creeping section of the San Andreas Fault. That is a huge uptick in earthquakes out here. Across this area, specifically in this area, folks. We're talking about 356 earthquakes. That is a huge number. Major uptick, not normal for this area. So there's something brewing out here. I do think the likelihood of seeing a major earthquake along the Hayward Fault has been increased with all this adjustment going on. There were swarms out here along the Hayward Fault here a month or so ago. So the increasing movement out here, man, it's looking likely we'll see something bigger out there along the area of the Bay region. I call it like I see it. Time has everything to do with earthquake activity out here. And I guarantee you, we have not seen 32,000 earthquakes out here. Come on. Get out of here with your comments, okay? I try not to respond to those people, but they're like, you know, they like that comfort. Oh my goodness, I'm going to sleep better tonight because we've had a couple 3s. That's much better than the 9-pointer or 8-pointer or 7-pointer. Come on, let's be a little realistic out here, okay? Even Dr. Lucy Jones out here knows what's coming, okay? I'm just a voice of reason, a voice of facts out here. And this is not fear-mongering. This is simply observation and science. This is not AI. I guarantee you. Oh my gosh. Have you seen all the AI stuff out there? I don't even want it to get involved in that. It's crazy. Please. Oh my gosh. I hope these social media sites do something with the AI here soon, because it's getting out of hand. Southern California here specifically, nothing really above 2.5. Aside from that 3-pointer there this morning. This has been a source here of some earthquake swarming, and it's been a pretty good cluster out here. We got, 56 earthquakes here in the last couple days there along the San Jacinto Fault Zone. That's That's a little unusual to see this amount of elevated earthquake activity. But when you look at the general stress out here, it makes sense. We're seeing a major increase in pressure out here along the west coast. That includes the San Andreas Fault and areas around the San Andreas Fault. Swarms from north, south, along the San Andreas Fault there around Salinas, Southern California. There's a major adjustment out here across this. Look at this, folks. That's a long drive from Chico down there to Salton Sea. I've done it once. I will never do it again because the Salton Sea it sucks. The air down there had me choking for weeks. The drive down there is pretty crazy for us little ants or little, we're humans. It takes hours to drive down here, but this is only a little bitty tiny segment of the Pacific Plate, okay? We've had major movement out here all across the Pacific Plate here recently, and our little bitty, some of us can comprehend, but a lot of us can't comprehend what's going on here when the plates move. This is some major adjustment going on across the Pacific Plate recently, and all the uptick is happening out there across this little bitty tiny segment, a little bitty baby segment of the Pacific Plate out here. It's only a little baby segment, but guess what? In 8.1 out there, that could make us little babies out here feel like babies. I guarantee you, an 8.1 out here would have us crying like babies because that's a big earthquake. We are expecting an 8.1 earthquake out there across the southern end of the San Andreas Fault. We're expecting a mid-7 across the Hayward Fault. I mean, there's so many areas out here across this little segment. Look at this. I'm circling a little baby area that has not moved in quite a while. Compare that to the rest of the Pacific Plate, okay? Think about that. It's coming, folks. It is coming. We got to be prepared. We're just a little baby area out here. Further up north, there's not a whole lot going on. I checked the Cascadia subduction zone. We only got 9 epicenters of tremor across the southern end of the Cascadia subduction zone. Nothing big going on there, folks, for now. But man, we're coming up. I guarantee you, I'm gonna be seeing a mega quake here along the west coast pretty soon. I'm not even joking. Yellowstone National Park, very small microquake activity, but I appreciate the USGS reporting that small microquake activity. Thank you. Texas oil fields still rocking and rolling. Nothing going on across the New Madrid seismic zone. That earthquake there from late last night. One lonesome earthquake out here around the Columbia, South Carolina area. Would you guys believe here that a major earthquake struck out here a while back? Well, a long ways back here. South. To the southeast here, near Charleston. Big earthquake quite a while ago. What do we got here? 5.1. There was a decent earthquake out here across the Guatemala area earlier this afternoon. That earthquake, 87 miles deep, thankfully, right? Thankfully that was deep. That is a considerably large earthquake out here across this area. But the unfortunate aspect of this is that is deep, super deep there into the Middle America Trench. That's a major subduction zone where big earthquakes can happen. Look at that. That plate right there is subducting underneath this area of the North American plate and the portion of the Caribbean plate there. It's a major area of mega quakes. So that 5.8 at that deep level, we need to watch that area upstream here. That's going to add further stress and steam here. Stress and steam up across the subduction zone area. So watch that there across the Middle America Trench. Some pretty deep earthquake activity there south of the Philippines. Right now there's a 2.8 showing up there, but There's definitely some deeper activity. The Kuril-Kamchatka Trench, some 5 stirring up there today. You know, it's definitely been a broad movement of earthquake activity out here. This earthquake, a 5.2 down there across way southern Atlantic Ocean, that's a little rare. It's been a while since I've seen any earthquake activity that far south. So we do have sufficient movement happening out here underneath this area that's causing the rift boundaries to show elevated activity. So convection is happening underneath this area, which is spreading. This is a spreading seafloor center out here across this area of the Atlantic Ocean. Notice the new oceanic crust being formed. That is a spreading seafloor center out here. So we have 3 earthquakes at least there of magnitude 5 and above that's stirring up underneath this region. So most of the time when things stir up out here, we should watch these areas across the South America area and the Africa area northeastward. That could stir things up out here as far as earthquake activity goes. Mediterranean region and the Middle East, fairly quiet. The Java Trench, still kind of watching that. I mean, man, look at that super deep earthquake raised off the globe there. I don't even know if the USGS is reporting that. Let's see here. They're really not. There was a 5.1, the most recent earthquake there. And that, in itself there, that's a pretty deep earthquake. 101 miles deep there for that latest earthquake. So we got some deep earthquake here, deep earthquake there across the Philippines. A lot of movement taking place out here. Watch this closely here, folks. I do think we need to be on guard out here across California unless we see some major megaquake activity out here across the Western Pacific that may relieve the strain out here across California. That's kind of what happens out here during the 2011 megaquake there, the Japan event. That that kind of relieved the strain out there across California for a couple years, actually. There was an article that was written, how much land moved out there. It relieved the strain out here across the West Coast because the general stress movement here is off to the west, the Pacific plate to the west, North American plate to the west-northwest here. So that would make sense. So while things are building up out here across the West Coast, we need to watch for some mega quake activity out here across this area of the western area of the Pacific plate. Until that happens, watch California here closely, folks. Watch it closely. Around the sun here, we do have a number of sunspots. Looks like there was one even up into the M flare category. We do have a very active region out there on the southeastern quadrant of the sun, and also up there around the northwestern quadrant of the sun, shooting out some massive prominences up there. That's a huge, massive amount of solar plasma being shot off there from a couple different sunspots. I do think it's going to be very active here in the coming. This is what is this? The 28th? Where's our what? Hold on a second here. This looks a little odd here. This looks way behind. This is like a day behind here. Hold on a second. Let's go over here to the latest image. There we go. Okay. I was going to say, why did I miss that? I normally click on the latest imagery over here. I'm not for sure why I missed that. But here's the latest imagery down here across the southeastern area of the sun. There's a huge sunspot. This was out here a couple weeks ago. It produced some M flare activity. I don't think it produced any X flare activity. That sunspot is going to be creeping around here along the northeastern segment of the sun. But this area is definitely producing some C flare activity. I do think further back here, we're going to see some M flare activity stirring up in the days ahead. So that's a massive sunspot area. We have one more that will be creeping around the northeastern area of the sun that will probably elevate the flaring activity. Right now, these guys are showing about a 40% chance. I have upped my chances there of a solar flare for the M flare up around 55 to 60% chance. I bumped up my X flare chance for solar flaring up around 10% chance or so, just because of the major consistency above the C flare activity. Look at this. Look at this C flare activity. Ever since that sunspot has come into view, we're crackling and sizzling with C flare and almost M flare activity. There's been 1, 2, 3, 4 M flares. So that tells me right there that the X flare potential is elevated, at least up to a 10% chance. So we'll watch that here in the coming days. Storm Prediction Center, there's really not a whole lot for severe weather, okay? As far as any major weather pattern goes, we got to watch this here. There's a lot of cold air coming down. Nothing major for the West Coast right now. Man, I'm hoping for something. I really am. It does look likely that towards mid-December we'll see that switch up here across the West Coast. But man, it's absent until then. Hold on. Told her I just had some heartburn come up all of a sudden, which I lost my voice. Hello. I'm going to be the earthquake whisperer. Yeah, this is the GFS, total accumulated precipitation run, which shows some decent moisture coming up here to the West Coast. But we'll have to watch that. There's a little bit of uncertainty. Well, there's actually another deep earthquake there, 4.5 there around the Indonesia area westward, 84 miles deep. So there's definitely a lot of stirring up of deep earthquake activity out here. Multiple deep earthquakes out here. So we got some major adjustment going on out here. We got to watch that. Of course, keep an eye there on California. It's been way elevated here, more than normal. Nothing major going on for earthquake activity right now, but please be on guard. We'll see you guys out here for the Saturday morning update. Have a wonderful evening, folks, and we'll definitely we'll catch you guys out here tomorrow. Have a good one.